Hi, my name is Jordan. I'm a grateful believer in Jesus Christ, and I struggle with anger, anxiety, and control. Welcome back to the Crosstalk Cafe, everyone. Today we are looking at the fourth and final question in establishing a firm spiritual base for our lives. And it is all about finding the courage to make a vocal declaration. But before we get into the Word of God, Chris, I was thinking about how so many of us spend years trying to quiet our stress, but we're still fueling our minds first thing in the morning with high-octane caffeine. That's why I'm so glad to welcome our brand partner, Savorista Coffee.
Hi, my name is Chris. I'm a grateful believer in Jesus Christ, and I struggle with anxiety, shame, and OCD. Oh, absolutely, Jordan. Savorista hits right at the heart of the recovery lifestyle. Their founder, Kate Brown, created cracked decaf and half-calf coffee out of her own story of realizing caffeine was just amplifying her stress. Her whole focus is built on less hustle and more intention. Our listeners can go to savorista.com and enter the promo code PCBC to get 25% off.
It really helps you pause and savor life instead of constantly running on high alert overdrive. And speaking of creating a calm space for mind and body, another major area where we need rest is getting actual restorative sleep. That's why we're also so grateful to welcome Cozy Earth to the cafe today.
Yes, Cozy Earth completely redefines sleep comfort with their bedding and pajamas made from premium viscose from bamboo, which naturally wicks moisture to keep hot sleepers cool and dry all night long. Thousands of five-star customer reviews call these sheets buttery soft, and they back everything with a 100-night sleep trial and a 10-year warranty. Our listeners can head over to CozyEarth.com and use that exact same promo code PCBC to get an exclusive 21% off any product.
That is an incredible deal. And because we earn a commission when you use our code PCBC at checkout for either of these brands, you're directly supporting the show and the ministry here at the cafe. But now, Chris, let's step completely out of commercial mode. Over our last few conversations, we established belief in Christ, accepted his forgiveness, and decided to switch to his plan. Today, we face the final question. Do I want to express my desire for Christ to be the director of my life?
I mean, when you really look at that progression, the shift from those first three steps to this final one is, well, it's jarring for a lot of people.
Oh, yeah. Very jarring.
Because if you think about what we've been talking about, acknowledging who he is, accepting that free grace, even deciding to trade our own agendas for a structured plan, every single one of those actions shares a very specific characteristic.
They're completely invisible.
Exactly. They are entirely internal. Like, you can process all three of those steps sitting completely alone in a dark room.
Yeah, nobody would ever know.
Right. You can agree to all of it without a single person in your life ever knowing you made a change.
Which, if I'm being honest, is incredibly appealing. I mean, that invisibility is what makes the modern approach to faith so comfortable.
Oh, for sure. It feels safe.
Yeah. Because society actively praises that kind of hidden, private belief, right?
Yeah.
We are constantly fed this cultural narrative that faith is a deeply personal matter, something that should never impose on the physical space you share with other people.
Keep it to yourself, basically.
Exactly. The most polite way to exist, according to the world around us anyway, is to keep your spiritual convictions tucked away where they can't cause any friction.
Don't make it weird.
Right. Don't disrupt your daily routine, and certainly don't offend anyone else.
Yeah.
We were just completely conditioned to believe that silent intentions are sufficient.
But that cultural push for privacy is so strong, we really have to ask ourselves if a hidden intention actually constitutes a foundation.
Like, is it actually solid if it's just in your head?
Yeah, because intention without physical expression is it's just a phantom. Consider the difference between holding a thought and actually taking an action. A private thought feels completely safe because it demands absolutely nothing from you in the physical world.
It's risk-free.
Totally risk-free. You can sit on your couch, feel this massive wave of emotion, and silently decide you're going to change the entire trajectory of your life. But as long as that decision stays locked behind your eyes...
You haven't actually done anything.
No, you haven't risked a single thing. You haven't made yourself vulnerable to failure or accountability.
I struggle with that a bit, though. Because, isn't faith supposed to be personal?
Well, sure.
Like, we read all the time about retreating to a quiet place to pray.
Right.
Or not parading our righteousness around for everyone to see.
Right.
So the cultural push for privacy almost sounds biblical if you don't look too closely. Why isn't a sincere, silent prayer in the privacy of my own head enough to establish that foundation?
Because that safety is an illusion when it comes to forming a true covenant.
Okay, explain that.
Well, think about how this plays out in fundamental human relationships, right? Like, let's take a formal job offer.
Oh, okay, yeah.
If you get a job offer, you can read the contract, and you can absolutely love the benefit.
You're mentally already spending the salary.
Exactly. In your mind, the decision is entirely made. You are fully committed internally. You might even be planning out your new commute in your head while you read the email.
But if I just sit there and delete the email without replying, I don't work there?
Right. Your internal commitment, no matter how intense or genuine it is, it means absolutely nothing until you force those words out of your mouth or, sign your name in the physical world.
You have to say, I accept the position.
Yes. The internal agreement has to cross a physical threshold to become a reality. You can't build a career on a secret you refuse to tell the hiring manager. The relationship requires the friction of a spoken acceptance.
Wow. Yeah, the friction is the terrifying part, but it's the necessary part.
It really is. When you speak something out loud, you are establishing a fixed point in reality.
Mm-hmm.
You're giving the people around you, and even your own physical body, permission to hold you to that statement.
Oh, that's heavy. Because if I keep my surrender silent, I can always take it back tomorrow and just pretend it never happened.
Exactly. You can tell yourself, oh, I was just feeling emotional, or I was just tired.
Right. Plausible deniability.
But a vocal declaration traps you in a good way. It forces you to stand by your decision in the light of day.
Which brings us directly to the phrasing Pastor Rick Warren uses for this fourth question. And it is incredibly deliberate. It leaves absolutely no room for that kind of silent, plausible deniability.
Remind us what the exact phrasing is.
So the question for you, the listener sitting here at the table with us is, do I want to express my desire for Christ to be the director of my life?
Yeah, it's that word director that usually trips people up.
Oh, big time.
Because human nature naturally prefers a word like consultant or advisor.
Yeah, we love an advisor.
We do. We want someone we can go to when we are confused, right? Someone to offer suggestions that we can choose to take. Or, politely ignore if we don't like them.
Because at the end of the day, with a consultant, you're still the one making the final call.
Exactly. But a director does not offer suggestions.
No, they don't. I mean, if you look at a film set, the director holds the script. They dictate the pacing. They tell the actors where to stand. They determine the lighting.
They run the whole show?
They completely run it. And ultimately, they decide the final cut of the entire production. They are not waiting around for a consensus from the crew. They are the absolute authority in that space.
Right. So handing over the director's chair is a literal resignation.
It really is. You are stepping away from the monitors. You're walking out of the center seat and acknowledging that you are no longer calling the shots. You're resigning your commission over your own life.
And the mechanism for making that resignation official is spelled out by the Apostle Paul in Romans chapter 10, verse 9.
What does he say there?
He writes, "If you declare with your mouth Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved."
Okay, but see, why the mouth, though? That is the part that always feels a bit redundant to me.
Really? How so?
Well, if God is omniscient, right? If he knows the deepest, most hidden intentions of my heart before I even fully process them myself, why does the physical air in the room need to vibrate?
That's a good point.
Like, why do I need to physically push breath through my lungs and vibrate my vocal cords? God doesn't need auditory feedback to know what I am thinking.
You're right. God doesn't need the auditory feedback. You do. The vocalization is not for his information. It is for your reality. Tying the internal belief of the heart directly to the physical action of the mouth anchors a spiritual abstraction into the physical room you are sitting in.
Okay, I need to understand how that works practically.
Yeah.
Because I've never experienced the kind of OCD or overwhelming anxiety you've talked about before.
Yeah, it's intense.
When you say the silence inside your head is loud, I honestly don't know what that means. What does that actually feel like inside your head, and how does speaking physically change it?
Well, picture being locked inside a small, windowless room.
Okay.
And the walls are completely lined with speakers. Every single speaker is broadcasting a different frequency of panic.
All at the same time.
All at once. One speaker is replaying a mistake I made 10 years ago on an endless loop. Another is detailing every possible catastrophic outcome for a mundane meeting I have tomorrow morning.
Wow.
Another is just a constant low-level hum of shame, just telling me I'm fundamentally flawed. And the volume on all of them is slowly, relentlessly creeping up. That is the internal environment of an anxious spiral.
That sounds paralyzing.
Yeah.
How do you even instinctively try to stop it when you find yourself trapped in that room?
Honestly, the natural instinct is to try and outthink the noise.
Like, rationalize with it.
Exactly. I try to silently rationalize with the speakers. I attempt to formulate a quiet, logical strategy to turn down the volume. I try to silently remind myself of what is true, hoping that a rational thought will somehow magically override the emotional panic.
But what happens if you try to make that internal decision to surrender to God while you are standing in that room? Like, if you just silently think, God, please take control.
It is like trying to whisper a lullaby in the middle of a hurricane.
It just gets lost.
Instantly swallowed by the sheer decibel level of the panic. The silent thought cannot compete with the deafening noise of the shame and the fear.
So your own good intentions are basically useless in there.
Entirely useless in that environment because they don't carry any physical weight. The noise just drowns them out and the loop continues to feed on itself. The internal decision just isn't strong enough to break the cycle.
So how does the physical act of declaring with your mouth disrupt that hurricane?
It acts as a physical interruption. When I choose to open my mouth and say, Jesus is Lord, you are the director, I have to physically draw breath into my lungs. I have to engage the muscles in my throat. I have to form words with my lips and push them out. The sound waves leave my mouth and physically hit my own eardrums.
You are literally forcing a new reality into the room.
It shatters the isolation completely. I am no longer just trapped with the internal speakers. I have introduced an undeniable external element.
That makes so much sense.
Hearing my own voice speak the truth physically overrides the internal lies. It forces my racing heart and my chaotic thoughts to recognize a reality outside of my own panic. I cannot simply think my way out of anxiety. I have to speak the truth out loud to physically disrupt the lie.
It acts like a shutdown switch on a massive power surge.
Yes.
It brings you back to the present moment, back to the physical reality that you are not alone in the room and you are not the one responsible for surviving the storm.
And the terrifying part is trying to speak when your chest is tight with panic. Like, it feels physically impossible sometimes to draw that breath. But that vocalization is the exact mechanism that unlocks the door of that windowless room.
You know, I find it fascinating that the exact same biblical principle, the necessity of a vocal declaration, applies to a completely different set of struggles.
How so?
Well, for you, the silent internal world is a place of loud panic and shame that needs to be broken. But for me, the silent internal world is a place where I build a throne.
Oh, wow. Okay, if my mind is a loud, chaotic room, what does your internal environment look like?
It is a quiet, highly organized, sterile boardroom where I sit entirely alone at the head of the table.
Very different vibe.
Very different. The struggles I face daily are anger, control, and pride. My default mode as a human being is to maintain absolute authority over my environment, my reputation, my schedule, and ideally the schedules and perceptions of everyone around me.
You want to be the sole director?
I want total control. And pride thrives in the silence. It loves the dark because the dark hides the mess of my own failures.
So what happens in that boardroom when things inevitably fall apart? Because, I mean, you can't actually control everything around you, no matter how hard you try.
Yeah, that's the hard truth. When I fail, when I lose my temper with my family, when I make a terrible financial decision, when I realize my arrogance has completely alienated someone I care about, my immediate reaction is to launch a covert cleanup operation.
A covert cleanup, so you want to handle it off the books.
Exactly. Want to fix the mess in secret before anyone else realizes I am struggling? The illusion that I am in total control must be maintained at all costs.
That sounds exhausting.
It is. I will sit in silent, seething anger, trying to internally formulate a strategy to regain my footing, rather than ever admit out loud that I have lost control and desperately need help.
Why is admitting it out loud so difficult, though? Like, if you know you are failing, why is the physical act of speaking so terrifying for a prideful heart?
Because a vocal declaration is a public abdication.
Wow.
To declare with my mouth that Jesus is Lord means I have to stand up in that boardroom, step away from the head of the table, and announce to the room that someone else is taking over.
You have to step down.
I have to admit that my reign was a failure. And pride wants a quiet transition of power.
Pride wants to negotiate a secret treaty.
That's exactly it. Pride says, okay, God, you can take over the difficult parts of my life, but let's just keep this between us so I don't look weak to my peers.
Let's keep it in-house.
Right. But Paul's instruction doesn't allow for a secret treaty. By verbally expressing that Christ is the director, I am forcing myself into absolute accountability. It is an act of total exposure.
You are burning the ships.
I am making it impossible to retreat back into the illusion that I have it all together. You cannot quietly micromanage your life while simultaneously telling the physical world around you that you have surrendered. The two actions are fundamentally incompatible.
They contradict each other entirely.
The spoken word takes my carefully guarded ego, drags it out into the harsh light of reality, and destroys it. It forces the pride out of the dark, where it just shrivels up. For me, speaking it out loud is the only way to prove to myself that I am actually surrendering, rather than just negotiating a new internal management strategy where I am still secretly in charge.
So for you, sitting right here at the table with us, and by you I mean the listener, this is the exact moment where abstract theory demands a physical response. We have walked through all 4 foundational questions together over these recent conversations. Think about them right now as you sit here. Number 1. Do you believe he died and rose for you? Number 2, do you accept his free forgiveness? Number 3, do you want to switch to his perfect plan? And finally, number 4, do you want to express your desire for Christ to be the director of your life?
And the human instinct is to hear those questions and immediately start building a list of prerequisites.
Oh, absolutely.
We convince ourselves that we have to meet certain conditions before we are allowed to use our voices.
We delay. We tell ourselves we need to clean up our habits first. We think we can't declare Jesus as Lord today because, well, we're still struggling with an addiction, or our marriage is falling apart, or our finances are a disaster.
We think we have to earn the right to ask for help.
Right. We believe the cultural lie that we must be presentable before we can ask for rescue.
Or we obsess over the logistics. We think, if I declare him as the director right now, today, what exactly is he going to ask me to do tomorrow?
What's the 5-year plan?
Exactly. How will this change my career trajectory? What will my neighbors think? We want a detailed 10-year itinerary before we agree to take the very first step.
But waiting for those things to resolve is a complete trap. It keeps you perpetually frozen in the planning phase, constantly moving the goalposts of when you will finally be ready.
It's absurd when you really think about it. Imagine you are in your house and you have sustained a life-threatening injury. You are bleeding out on your living room floor.
Okay, terrifying visual, but go on.
You manage to reach your phone and call for emergency services. The paramedics arrive, they run up to your porch, and they knock loudly on the front door. Now they have the equipment and the expertise to save your life.
Right.
But instead of unlocking the door and letting them in, you yell through the wood, "Hold on, don't come in yet."
The house is a mess.
Yes. There are dirty dishes in the sink, and I haven't vacuumed the rug, and the laundry is piled up on the couch. Let me just clean the house first, and then I will let you in to save me.
The paramedics do not care about the dishes in the sink. They only care about the fact that you are bleeding out.
But that is how we treat spiritual surrender. We stand in the middle of our own anxiety, our own pride, our own brokenness, refusing to unlock the door because we are ashamed of the mess.
We think the mess disqualifies us.
We insist on cleaning up our life before we let grace step over the threshold.
But the grace is the very thing required to clean up the mess. You cannot fix it yourself. You don't need to have tomorrow figured out, and you certainly don't need a clean house. The invitation is for right now, exactly as you are, sitting in the middle of whatever chaos you are currently experiencing. The immediate action is the only action that matters.
If the answer to those 4 questions is an honest desire for change, do not wait. You do not need eloquent, poetic words.
No special vocabulary required.
You do not need to be sitting in a formal religious setting.
You just need to use your voice. Confess the need out loud, where the sound waves can hit the air and physically break the silence of the room you are in. Accept the grace. And intentionally, purposefully hand that director's chair over to the Savior today. Speak the words, "Jesus is Lord," and let the physical reality of that vocal declaration change the atmosphere of your life.
I want to leave you with one final thought to wrestle with as you leave the cafe today. We spent this time establishing that speaking your surrender physically shatters the anxiety chamber and forcefully breaks the throne of pride in this exact present moment. But consider this. What happens if this isn't just a one-time foundational event? We tend to view this fourth question as the finish line of establishing a base.
Like checking a box.
Exactly. But what if declaring with your mouth that Jesus is Lord becomes the very first spoken sentence of every single morning?
Oh, wow. Imagine the trajectory of a life built on that daily rhythm.
Right. Before you look at your phone, before you let the panic loop start broadcasting, before you begin scheming how to control your schedule and manipulate your environment.
Before your feet even hit the floor.
What if you speak that vocal abdication out loud into the quiet of your bedroom? How dramatically would that daily spoken surrender reshape the entire direction of a human life over a year or a decade?
It would change the foundation of every single day. Friend, thank you for sitting at the table with us. The chair is waiting to be handed over. We are so glad you joined us here at the Crosstalk Cafe, and we will see you next time.